Starting with 7.16. Okay, so an important section.
Who best among the Bhagatas? All kinds of pious men began to enter devotional service unto him. The distant, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute.
Then who surrenders unto you? Anticipating this question, Lord Krishna speaks. Those who are actually learned, who engage in their designated duties according to Varnashrama, or have love for me alone, they surrender unto me, they worship me, they do engage in devotional service unto me. There are four types. Some are afflicted by distress, such as pain from enemies, and they desire to eliminate that suffering. Gajendra is an example. Others desire knowledge of the nature of the soul as different from the body. Shaunaka is an example of this. Some others, they desire wealth, such as a kingdom. Dhruva is an example. And then the person in knowledge, he already knows that he is a spirit soul and that he is ever dependent upon me, and he knows that I am the supreme soul, the shelter of the spirit soul. Shukadeva Goswami is an example of this. Of these, the first three are called Sakama, having material desires. The Jnani, however, is Nishkama, without desire, without such desires. The inquisitive type is placed between the sufferer and the desirer of wealth because of the hope that these two types will become inquisitive in the future. When the Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi, and Jnani become devoid of the faults of their mentalities by my mercy or my devotee's mercy and attain Sukriti, they worship me. It is almost impossible for the Dushkritas to worship me since they have no method of elevation. By some sudden process, sometimes someone among them attains my worship. Okay, this requires some clarification. In Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, there is a standard method by which one can elevate oneself from one position of existence to another. Within the Vedic system, that method of elevation is there. Suppose I am a karmi, there is a method by which I can become a jnani and become a bhakta. Slowly or quickly, whatever. But I have a method to elevate myself. But if you are lower than Vedic dharma, there may be there is no proper method by which they can come up. They don't have that mechanism of bringing this, upgrading the soul, because they, first of all, they don't even know what is up, what is down. So, something, just live, just live. So they have no method of elevation. Still, there is akasmiki pratha. There is some sudden process of elevation, meaning sometimes the Supreme Lord himself, he descends as a Shakti Avesha incarnation or something, or he sends some devotee to them, who may be a very good person, and he preaches and he infuses faith, and in that way suddenly they may Left to life. What is that? Okay. Among people with Sukriti following a regulated life, four types of people are suitable for worshipping me. Those who indulge in kamya karma, becoming afflicted by suffering, remember me. They are called artha. Sometimes Sukrita persons also remember me when in a situation of suffering. When the previously mentioned Mudha, moralist, by inquiry about Tattva, understands the necessity of the Lord, he eventually remembers me in the form of an inquiry. He begins to inquire about me. When the previously mentioned Naradham, not satisfied with the Lord within morality, understands the Lord who controls morality, then he becomes a devotee following rules and remembers me when he desires wealth, artharthi. When a person, understanding knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma to be incomplete, takes shelter of pure knowledge of Bhagavan, he destroys the covering of Maya and surrenders to me as an eternal servant of the Swarup of Bhagavan. So this person is a jnani. Thus, when the sufferer rejects somewhat his material desire, when the inquisitive person rejects the contamination of ordinary moralistic knowledge, when the desirer of wealth rejects the contamination of desire to attain Swarga and afterlife, and when the Jnani rejects the contamination of thinking that Bhagavan is temporary, and he also gives up the desire to merge in Brahman, the four types of jivas become qualified for bhakti. As long as some contamination remains, the bhakti of these persons is karma or jnana pradhana bhuta bhakti. Bhakti predominating, but mixed with other desires and processes. When the contamination ceases, they attain kevala, akinchana, or uttama, pure bhakti. Yeah. Okay, let me explain this. And then afterwards, I'll read out Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's analysis, which is a very nice analysis. Okay, someone read out this purport.
Like the experience, these are events of revelated principles of the scripture, and they are called speaking or those who obey the rules and regulations of the scripture, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Lord. Out of these, there are couple classes of men. Those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and a different condition. These are not pure devotees, because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotees, pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material property. The Bhakti Shamil Singh 1111 defines pure devotion by Anya Vilasa Somyam Jnana Karma Jnana Rekam Al Pulen Krishna Kizam one to render transcendental level service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna thoroughly and without desire for the profit of hands to the good activity of cultivation. That is called pure devotional service. When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the execution of pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the experience are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are filthy, regular and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with spiritual activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become in the distant devotee of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the right gospel and frustrated in everything but knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God and they come to the Lord, render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impulsive dharma and localize Paramatma and come to the personal conception of God by the grace of putting down all his pure devotion. On the whole, and the history, the inquisitive, the seekers for knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desire. And when they fully understand that material innovation has nothing to do with the spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified state is not attained, devotees in service of the Lord are tempted with fruitive activities, the search of mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotion further.
So these four types of people, they require the association of a pure devotee in order to become a pure devotee. Now, in this verse, actually, the word jnani, one who knows things as they are, has been translated in two different ways. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur refers to this person as a sattvic devotee, whereas Baladev Vidyabhushan takes this person actually as a pure devotee. Yeah. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, and this is his explanation. Tarhi ke tvam bhajanta ityataha chaturvidhani. So who rendered devotional service unto you? In response to this, Lord Krishna speaks this verse. Sukritam varnashrama achara lakshano dharmaha tatvantave santaha mam bhajante. Those who engage in sukriti, in other words, dharma characterized by the conduct of varnashrama dharma, they engage in service to me. Tatra artaha, the artha category. Roganti apadgrastha. He is caught up in a crisis, such as a disease. Then nivrittikamaha, he wants relief from that. Jigyasu, atmagyanarthi, vyakarnadi shastra jnanarthi va. He's a person, the jigyasu refers to a person who wants to know. That means he wants to either become self-realized, or it means that he wants to learn he wants to learn scriptural knowledge, such as Sanskrit grammar. Artharthi, Kshiti, Gaja, Turaga, Kamini, Kanaka, Adi, Aihika, Paratrika, Bhogarthi. Then Artharthi refers to a person who wants land, which means property, or elephants, horses, attractive women, gold, and other objects of enjoyment for this life or the next life. Ete trayaha sakamaha grastha. These three are grihasthas, they are sakamas, materialistic persons who have taken to devotional service to the Lord. Jnani, vishuddhanta karnaha, sannyasi, iti chatursoyam nishkamaha. The jnani refers to a person whose mind has become pure and who is a sannyasi. This fourth category is devoid of material desires. Ityete pradhani bhuta bhakti adhikarinaha chatvaraha nirupitaha. So in this way, four categories of persons eligible to execute pradhani bhuta bhakti, maximized bhakti, have been described. Tatra adimeshu trishu karma mishra bhakti. In the first three out of this four, we find karma mishra bhakti, bhakti which is mixed with karma. Antime chaturthe jnana mishra. And in the last one, the fourth one, we find jnana mishra bhakti. Sarvadvarani samyasya iti agrima granthe. And in the future text, 8.12, yoga mishra bhi bhakshiyate. Yoga mishra bhakti will also be described. This is not bhakti. This is all karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti. Jnana karma mishra kevala bhaktir ya sa tu saptamadhyaya arambha eva maya sakta manah partha ityanena ukta. Then there is kevala bhakti, exclusive bhakti, which is not mixed with jnana, karma and so on. And that was right at the beginning of the 7th chapter itself, in text 1, it was described. Punascha Ashtamepyadhyaye Ananya Cheta Satatam Ityanena. It will again appear in the 8th chapter, text 14. Navame Mahatmanastu Mambartha Iti Shloka Dvayena. And in text 9.13, so in these two verses, Ananyaschintayatto Mam Ityanena Cha. And in 9.22, Nirupayitavya Iti. And that will be described by Lord Krishna. Prathani Muta Kevala Iti Dvivi Dhaiva Bhaktir Madhyamesmin Adhyaya Shatke Bhagavata Utta. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in this middle 6 chapters only discusses 2 types of bhakti, Pradhani Bhuta and Kevala, maximized and exclusive. Yatu Tritiya Guni Bhuta Bhakti, Karmani Jnanini Yogini Cha, Karma Adi Phala Siddhyartha Drishyate, Tasyaha Pradhani Abhava Na Bhaktitva Vyapadeshata. Then there's a 3rd type of bhakti, Guni Bhuta Bhakti, minimized bhakti, which is found inside karma, jnana, and yoga, which is found in so like that. Sorry. Which is found in a karmi, in a jnani, and in a yogi. It is found because if they do not execute Hari Bhakti within their processes, they cannot get the results of karma, jnana, and yoga. So therefore, in order to ensure that they certainly get their respective results, for instance, a karmi, say a Sakama karmi. A Sakama karmi wants to go to the heavenly planets. But he also has to worship Lord Vishnu. If he does not engage in Navamrita Bhakti, he will not get that result. He may be doing pious activities. He may be doing all the pious activities required to go to the heavenly planets. But he must also do this one activity. So here, in the overall combination, worship of Lord Vishnu doesn't get much time. It's just a small thing. Does it, but it doesn't get prominence. Tasyaha pradhanya bhava na bhaktitva vyapadeshaha. Because bhakti is not predominant, that combination of Guni Bhuta Bhakti is not referred to as bhakti. Kintu tatra tatra karmadinam eva pradhanyat. Because karma, jnana, and yoga, only they are predominant in their respective processes. Pradhanyena vipadesha bhavanti iti nyayena karmatva, jnanatva, yogatva vipadesha. And because labels are given according to what is predominant, they are referred to as karma, jnana, and yoga. Tad vatamapi karmitva, jnanatva, yogitva vipadesha. And those who are practicing karma, jnana, and yoga, they are referred to as karmis, jnanis, and yogis. Not to bhaktatva vipadesha. They are not referred to as bhaktas. This is the reason why, in fact, in my latest version of my plan, I'm thinking of moving Vishnu Chakravarti's Bhagavad Gita explanation to Bhakti Sarvabhauma. Put it last. When you bring it beforehand, then our devotees will start thinking, then what am I doing in life? I'm not a devotee. I'm only engaged in minimal engagement. So what is this? I should join the temple or what? So everybody who joins the temple, they're devotees and only they'll go back to God. That what will happen to them? Our devotees start thinking so many things like this. Phalam cha sakamat karmanah swargah nishkamat karmanah jnana yogayor nirvana moksha iti. And the result of sakama karma is swarga. Of nishkama karma, it is jnana and yoga. And the result of that is nirvana and moksha. Atha dvividhaya bhakti phalamochyate. Now the results of the 2 types of bhakti will be described. Tatra pradhani bhutasu bhaktishu madhye arpadishu trishu yah karma vishras tisraha sakama bhaktayas tasam phalam tat kama prapti. So the ones who serve the Supreme Lord, when Krishna says here, 4 types of people render different service unto him. First of all, we should understand these are engaged in maximal bhakti. Maximal bhakti. Maximal bhakti. They are not engaged in this type of bhakti. Because in the middle 6 chapters, only this type of bhakti is described. Vishwanath Chakravarti is also very intelligently presenting. Everything he's saying is well connected. So it is only talking about these kinds of devotees, high intensity devotees. That is why the examples also you see, Dhruva, Gajendra. It is not simply that every day I just go before Radha Madhava, I look at a photo of the deities and I say, Krishna, please help me out, Hari Bol. And no, it's not. You need to be engaged 12 hours a day in devotional service exclusively. And Dhruva Maharaj was continuous. So that type of high intensity devotional service you need to be executing. That is called maximized bhakti. So amongst these 3 types, they're engaged. The first 3 are engaged in Karma Mishra Bhakti, Pradhanimita Bhakti. And these devotees, they're also Sakama, they have particular material desires. So their desires will be fulfilled. That is the result. Vishaya Sadgunya Tadante Sukaishwarya Pradhana Salokya Moksha Praptischa. And because they have chosen as their object of worship someone so excellent, at the end of their practice, they attain liberation, Salokya liberation, in which happiness and opulences predominate. Natu karma phala swarga bhogantaiva pataha. They don't go to swarga and fall down. So ordinarily you will expect you execute sakama karma, you will go to swarga and fall down. But sakama bhaktas, they don't fall down. They will move up, all until they attain salokya mukti. Yad vakshate yanti madhyajinopi mamiti. Because it will be stated in text 9.25 that those who worship me, they come to me. Chaturthya Jnanamishraya statu utkrishtaya stu phalam shantarati sanakadishu yiva. The result of the 4th Jnanamishra, that is actually Shantarati, like in the 4 Kumaras. Bhakta Bhagavad Karunya Adhikya Vashat Kasyachit Tasyah Palam Premotvarshascha Shukadishviva. And then sometimes due to excessive mercy from the devotees of the Lord or the Supreme Lord himself, for some people, the result might be exalted love of Godhead as found in Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Karma Mishra Bhaktir Yadi Nishkama Sat Padatasya Palam Jnana Mishra Bhakti. If one executes Nishkama Karma Mishra Bhakti, within Karma Mishra Bhakti also, it can be Nishkama or Sakama. So if it is Sakama, that is the first 3 types. But theoretically, it can be Nishkama also. Because sometimes they may have to execute for their material duties. Then the result of that is attainment of Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Tasya phalam uttameva. And the result of Jnana Mishra Bhakti is already stated here. They will attain Shantarati. Kvachitya Swabhavadeva. What is this? Dasadi Sangotha Vasanavashadva. Jnana Karma Adi Mishra Bhakti Matamapi Dasyadi Premasyadi. Sometimes, if they are fortunate enough to associate with the Lord's servants and other such devotees well established in devotion service, these ones may attain, they may come to the platform of pure bhakti and then attain Dasya Prema, Sakya Prema, Vatsalya Prema, Madhurya Prema. Into Aishwarya Pradhanam eva. No. Whatever they may attain, they will not attain Goloka Vrindavan. They will attain the abode of the Lord where opulence predominates. That's where they will go. Up to Dwaraka. Opulent. Atha Jnana Karmadya Mishraya Shuddhaya Ananya Akinchana Uttamadi Paryaya Bhakter Bahu Prabhedaya Datsya Sakhyadi Premavat Parshidatvam Phalam. And what if somebody executes exclusive bhakti, this type, like this, both internally and externally? They have no desire other than to please the Supreme Lord. That type of bhakti is called Shuddha Bhakti, it's called Ananya Bhakti, it's called Akinchana Bhakti, it's called Uttama Bhakti, etc. They are of different types. Then one gets Dasya Prema, Sakhya Prema, Vatsalya Prema, Madhurya Prema. So they attain Premavat Parshadattva, which means the status of a loving associate of the Lord. Ityadikam Shri Bhagavata Tikayam Bahusha Pratipaditam. I have established this in many places in my commentary on Shri Bhagavata. Atrapi Prasangavashat Sadhya Bhakti Viveka Sankshipya Darshitaha. Here, incidentally, since I have to deal with this, I have discriminated between the different goals of different types of bhakti in brief. So it does make a difference what you are doing and what you get. Okay, take 17.
Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is already with pure devotion service to the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to him.
See this word jnani that comes here, it also has another meaning. It can refer to a person who has sambandha jnana. So he is not necessarily a person contaminated by the moral goodness. He can be a person who has knowledge of his relationship with Krishna. That meaning is taken by Sri Baladev Vidyabhuti. It is also accepted as one of the meanings by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary to the next verse, text 8. There he says, he is Namamatra Jnani. Just by name he is a Jnani. In reality, he is a devotee. Because Ekabhakti Vishishyate, he is exclusively engaged in devotion service, so he is special. Among these four, the Jnani is considered the best. He is the best because he is Nitya Yukta and Ekabhakti. Having given up desires such as getting relief from suffering, getting wealth, or getting knowledge of the soul, he is serving me constantly. Others engage in service as long as they attain their desires. Whereas the Jnani has unmotivated devotion only to me. Others engage in devotion to me because I fulfill their desires. But the Jnani is not like that because he has understood that I am the servant. The servant should serve selflessly. Therefore, the Jnani is the best. I am the object of love for the Jnani. He, immersed in the nectar ocean of love for me, does not seek anything else. The word atyartha excessively indicates that he limits himself only to love me. Since I am endowed with qualities like omniscience and unlimited powers, which no one can completely describe. And this Jnani is the object of affection for me, according to the rule, Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhujanyaham. I am also limited to loving only him. Can someone read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's argument?
The Artham, Jigyasu, Artharthi, and Jnani, the word of contamination, becoming devoted to me, become devotees. However, among them, the Jnani, giving up contamination of Jnana, attaining pure Jnana, engaging in Bhakti Yoga, attains superiority over other three types of devotees. The purport of this is that by nature, the practice of Jnana, the Swarupa of the conscious Jiva, becomes pure to the extent that the Jiva attains its Swarupa. To this extent, the karmis, even though purified of contamination of karma, do not become as pure as far as being situated in their own Swarupa. By association with devotees, finally all become situated in their Swarupas. Among the four types mentioned in the stage of sadhana, the Jnani Bhakta, endowed with pure devotion, is my pure servant, and I also hold him dear. They and others are examples, those who manifested Bhagavad Jnana. The devotees who have attained pure Gyan are purely spiritual servants of the Lord at the time of sadhana. Any trace of materialism cannot enter them.
Free from all contaminations. The distressed, the inquisitive, the penniless, and the seeker after supreme knowledge can all become pure devotees. But out of them, he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. And of the four orders, the devotee who is in full knowledge and is at the same time engaged in devotion service is, the Lord says, the best. By searching after knowledge, one realizes that his self is different from his material body. And when further advanced, he comes to knowledge of impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. When one is fully purified, he realizes that his constitutive position is to be the eternal servant of God. So by association with pure devotees, the inquisitive, the distressed, the seeker after material amelioration, and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who is in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord and is at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. He who is situated in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so protected in devotional service that material contamination cannot touch him. But knowledge is always esteemed in Vedic civilization, and that too, knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very greatly esteemed. It is considered the summit of spiritual knowledge. Yes.
I didn't understand fully. Those Gyani in the verse number 17 and the Gyani on the verse number 16, are they the same Gyani?
They're same. The two categories of Gyani. There is a Sattvic Gyani and there is the pure Shuddha Gyani. The one who is engaged in Anya Vilashita Shuddha Jnana Karma, that is not a pure Gyani. You cannot call him Agyani because he has knowledge. If he doesn't know that he's an eternal servant of Krishna, why will he engage in devotion? So he has knowledge. That is why Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, he's just namesake Gyani. You can't consider this person to be the one going through the pathway of Jnana to attaining personal realization and so on. Simply means he has knowledge. That's all. He's not ignorant. In that sense, he's. So in the purport also, you will find that Prabhupada is discussing about, in this purport, he's primarily talking about the Sattvic Gyani. But in the previous purport, sometimes he talks about the pure Gyani also, Shuddha Gyani also.
So if in the previous verse we are talking about Gyani as a Sattvic Gyani, then in this verse we also should understand that this Gyani is Sattvic Gyani. On the other hand, if we choose another way of
Correct, naturally. If he's because it goes in one sequence, no? That's the reason why Krishna is speaking like this.
there are just two lines of explanations.
Two lines of explanations. In Baladev Vidyabhushan's version also, he has another place where he talks about the Sattvic Gyani. Comes at the end of this chapter. So he says that is the fifth category. So if you go by Baladev Vidyabhushan's way of explanation, there are 5 categories of those who surrender to the Supreme Lord. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also accepts there are 5. But the only thing he says, if you take this Gyani to be the Sattvic Gyani, then this is 4, but that's a separate, the pure devotee. It's separate.
And the next verse will also be dedicated to the 2 lines of explanation.
Correct, yes. In fact, we'll find, we'll see. See, that's the explanations are different in terms of, you remember Bhakti earlier on in his commentary, he spoke about the Arundhati star. Uddishta, Nirdishta, he used these expressions. The one that you're immediately pointing to and the one that you ultimately want to point out to. Okay. So, in other words, there is a superficial meaning and there is ultimate intended meaning. So, there is an immediate superficial meaning and the ultimate intended meaning. So, immediately, for instance, a word like Brahman. Okay. Brahmeti Paramatmati Bhagavaniti Shabdeti. The immediate superficial meaning of Brahman is the Brahmajyoti, the Brahman effulgence. But the ultimate intended meaning is Bhagavan. Similarly, Paramatma. The immediate superficial meaning is the super soul situated in the hearts of the conditioned souls. But the ultimate intended meaning is Bhagavan, because he is the supreme soul.
Similarly, as the word servitude. In Brahma Gayatri, servitude.
Yes. Several expressions. Baladeva Vidyabhushana presents the ultimate meaning, the ultimate intended meaning. So, like in Govinda Bhashya, he says this entire process is to teach you how to attain Brahma Jnana. But then by Jnana, he means the ultimate intended meaning. Ultimately, Jnana is the process by which you become enlightened, which is known as Navavida Bhakti in Bhagavata. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says an expression like Brahma Jnana. The superficial immediate meaning is knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and all. But what is the ultimate meaning? The ultimate meaning is knowledge about the Supreme Personality of God in Krishna. So that is always there. In one of his writings, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has observed that most of our acharyas, out of compassion for Kanishta Adhikaris, have given this immediate superficial meaning in their explanation. They have covered all the Siddhantas, but in different places. But there are very few acharyas, like for example, Baladeva Vidyabhushan. It always talks about the ultimate meaning. There's a purpose for that, there's a purpose for this. And we find, like for instance, in Harivamsha, there's one scripture known as Harivamsha. It's an appendix to Mahabharata. And there we find that the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence that comes from Krishna's body, that is actually described as Brahman, Brahma Samhita, there also. So it is not wrong. The scriptures themselves, they present sometimes through superficial meanings. Sometimes the scriptures also present the ultimate meanings. It also takes a while to get adjusted. We can't mix up the wordings used by different acharyas. That is why I say either you keep it simple, just study Prabhupada's books thoroughly, repeatedly, become well versed in it. Books means not only his purpose, his translation, word meaning, everything. Study it thoroughly, clearly. That's fine. But if you want to go into the criticism of acharyas, then you have to study each one thoroughly, like Vishwanath Chakravarti. That means you study Vishwanath Chakravarti's different writings, Bhagavatam commentary, Bhagavad Gita, not a little bit here, a little bit there, then you will get completely confused. If it's Baladeva Vidyabhushan, sit and read his books, read all these different writings. Learn the language, read it in the original. Understand it thoroughly. Because each one repackages in a different manner. Okay, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in his Bhakti Rasamrasa Sindhu commentary, Baladeva Vidyabhushan puts in Govinda Bhashya somewhere. So they may repackage the same teaching, they'll take it and put it in some other place. So when we go for each acharya, do it thoroughly. If you cannot do it thoroughly, don't do it, that's all. Don't do some little, that becomes very dangerous and very confusing also. Because they're all using the same words but in different ways. It takes some while, afterwards we get used to it. Okay, let's move on. Text 18.
All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own soul. Being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me the highest and most perfect goal.
Then the first three types of worshippers do not have affection for you. No, it is not so. I said the Jnani holds me exceedingly dear. all of them are generous in giving me affection. Those who worshipping me receive from me the objects of their material desires, which I desire to give, generously offer to me their affection as a devotee. Certainly, I also hold dear that person who gives so much to me. But one in knowledge is my very life and soul. This is actually a pure devotee. This is a pure jnani, the person who's pure, in pure knowledge. This is because he has offered his mind to me without desiring anything else other than me. He is unable to remain even for a fraction of a second without me because of his extreme affection. He remains firmly convinced that I alone am the highest object to be achieved. I also cannot remain for a fraction of a second without such a person. In that way, he is my very Atma. So, as much as this devotee has pure prema bhakti towards the Lord has pure affection for such a devotee also. Now, Baladev Vidyabhushan tackles some unnecessary Mayavad point that some Mayavadis immediately use this. You see this expression here. Jnani tu atmaiva me matam. It's just like my own self. So there are some Mayavadis who say, my own self. See, ultimately he realized. There was one gentleman, one Bengali gentleman. Bengalis create a lot of troubles actually. He became a Mayavadi, Madhusudan Saraswati. And if he did not come, Mayavad would have died by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. He came and gave life back into Shankara line. So he says, first step, you consider that you belong to Krishna. Second step, you realize that Krishna belongs to you. Third step, you realize you are Krishna. 3 steps of surrender. A completely crazy idea because there's a Vanamali Mishra who was a North Indian follower of Madhvacharya. Probably now he wrote a commentary on Gita and he says, a king's servant tells the king, I belong to you. The king will accept it. If he says, you belong to me, that also he will accept it. You tell him, I am you, that's how he will accept it. Even in this world, the principle of Sharanagati does not allow absolute equation between persons, no? Between the subject and object of surrender. So that is a bogus interpretation. Struggle, simply somehow or other they're struggling to somehow or other say we are God. Looking for evidence, searching for evidence. The only thing they are doing. So one cannot propose that in this verse, the Lord says that he is not different from the Jiva who has become a Jnani because this is not the goal of worship for this Jnani. There are no statements showing this result for any of the 4 types of worshippers. In other words, there's no scriptural statement which says when you surrender unto Krishna, you become Krishna. No statement like that. There are contrary statements made elsewhere that there is a difference between the Jiva and the Lord, even in the state of liberation. The Jnani is called my Atma only because of my extreme affection for him. This is similar to saying that out of affection, Bhadrasena is my very life. Others say that Atma means mind in this verse. In that case, the sentence would mean, my mind thinks of him constantly. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma or a great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit. And when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. In other words, see, that is what Pradhani Bhuta, maximal bhakti means. They have not come with the business model in their mind that if you take away this distress, then I will worship you. That is why the devotee means no, he wants eternal service to the Lord. He likes the Lord. At the very least, he likes the Lord. He likes the Lord. He has all these desires, but he also likes the Lord. It's like in family, children, they ask mother, father, you give me money, give me this, give me that. But when they get sick, they also go and help them. So there is affection also. Actually, he will also have some affection for the Lord. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord. So the other ones are dear, but the one in knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord, because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation, the Sattvika Jnani, he is like the Supreme Lord's very self. But the pure Jnani, who is actually a pure devotee, he is even more than this. And he quotes from 11th canto, where Krishna tells Uddhava that, I don't know, remember if it's 11th canto or 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, where he says that Uddhava is more than my very self. He's dearer to me. That's one statement. No? 11th canto. Is that the same? Looks like. Nashri. That verse, he quotes that verse. So that refers to the pure Jnani or a pure devotee. So the verse can be understood in more than one way. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur analyzes Bhagavad Gita through Srimad Bhagavatam. In general, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings are best understood after one completes a study of Bhagavatam, because it is post-Bhagavatam study. Whereas Baladev Vidyabhushan is kind, he deals with all beginners. So this language, everything is important. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says, the devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There's a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. Text 19.
After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare.
What is the final position of these three types of devotees? These three, being my devotees, by the power of performing bhakti to me, after experiencing the highest happiness possible from material pleasures for many lifetimes, finally, in one birth, find these pleasures distasteful. By association with saintly persons who know my nature, they then gain knowledge of my nature. So, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, now they have become Dhyanavan. Now they have knowledge of Krishna's nature and surrender unto me. Mam Prapadyate. It is understood that they also are me, because we surrender unto the Supreme Lord with knowledge of the relationship between oneself and Krishna. Then you attain that goal. What is the form of such a person's knowledge? He understands that Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is everything, which means he realizes that all things in existence depend on Krishna for their manifestation and for their continued existence in those particular forms. What is dependent for its form and continued existence on him is designated as himself. Just as in the Chandogya Upanishad, prana is designated as voice, eyes, ears, and so on. Because voice, eyes, ears are all dependent on prana. Navai vacho na chakshunshi na shotrani na manamsi tya chakshate prana ityeva chakshate prano hyevaitani sarvani bhavanti. One does not call this a voice, eye, an ear, or a mind. They are all called prana. Prana alone is all these things. So now here this needs to be understood. There is a life air. Without the life air, the senses cannot function. And because the senses are absolutely dependent on prana, on the life air, therefore, according to Chandogya Upanishad, they are actually nothing but prana. But in reality, we know it's different. But when something absolutely depends on something else, then they are equated, they are identified. I showed you that metonymy. You can go there and check even more examples. I think in all languages of the world they use this kind of idioms. In English, we call them idioms. You don't take the literal meaning. Okay. So in the scriptures also, there are some idioms. Like I gave this example, Agni Deva is identified with Agni Dravya. Same reason, because this Agni fire is absolutely under the control of that Agni Deva. So it is in that sense that Krishna is saying Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So that person, he realizes everything is absolutely under the control of Vasudeva. So if something is absolutely under the control of Vasudeva, then you can say that is it. It is him. It is him. Since all things in existence are pervaded by Vasudeva, Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva is everything in the sense that everything is dependent upon him. By his powers, he pervades everything. This does not mean that Vasudeva is literally everything. That is not the idea. Arjuna will also say later on, Sarvam samapnoshi tatosi sarvam. You pervade over everything, therefore you are everything. Arjuna's realization directly matches with Krishna's teaching. There also we'll see. Arjuna will also, when he offers prayers, he will also speak some identity statements. He will also speak some statements of non-difference. But before he will make statements of difference, and after he will make statements of difference. Such a person, after destroying all material desires and aspiring only for me, having generously dedicated his soul to me and offering his very self to me, is very rare, even among millions of Gyanis. So, a Shuddha Gyani is rare, even amongst other types of Gyanis, because most of them are just Sattvic Gyanis. Such a person in knowledge should be understood to be the same as the person described in verse 17. So, in other words, they finally come to this point. Just that they take more time. Having accepted pure bhakti, the previously mentioned 4 types of qualified persons are almost generous, but the steadiness in one's Atma or steadiness in consciousness is stronger in the Gyani Bhakti. He is situated in me, who am the highest goal, the shelter of consciousness. He is dearest to me and controls me to the extreme. Can someone read Bhakti?
All the Vidvan after many first was Atma, again Jnana, or steadiness in consciousness. When they become steady in consciousness, to some degree they must take support of oneness of Jiva and Brahman. At the same time, giving up the matter. They become indifferent to qualities, having disgust for material qualities. When they become situated slightly in the qualities of, they can understand the pure qualities of consciousness and become attracted to it. Attracted to it, they surrender to me, the highest form of consciousness. They consider that this material world is not independent, just one repulsive reflection of the consciousness entity. It has a relationship, however, with the Lord Vasudeva. Thus, everything is Vasudeva.
Vasudeva Maya.
Vasudeva Maya. Filled with the Lord. Those who surrender to the Lord in this way are grateful and very rare.
And I want someone else to read out Prabhupada's picture.
May actually overcome
May actually become
situated in transcendent pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of the spiritual realization. In the beginning of the spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, we can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Krishna must be everything, that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of the spiritual variegatedness and realizes that In everything, there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. That we think of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva
Precipitates.
precipitated one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest Lord. Such surrender, great soul, are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the third chapter, verse 14 and 15 of Catuspathi. In the Chandogya Upanishad 5.115, it is said, Nave Vatuna Chakshumsi, Na Sotmani Na Param Achakshate Prana Iti Eva Chakshate Prana Evaitan Sarvani. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power of see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is life, which is the center of all activity. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. In this body, there are powers of speaking, of seeing, of hearing, of mental activity, etc. But these are not important, it's not related to Supreme Lord. And because Vasudeva is all providing and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge.
You can also relate this to text 17 of this chapter and text 40 of chapter 11. Both of which have been referred to in the Vedic Devotions commentary. Okay, text 20 onwards, we are beginning to look at demigod worshippers. 20.
कामस्ते ज्ञानं प्रपतन्ते अन्यदेवताः तमेवमास्नाय प्रकृत्यान्यतः स्वयं. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desire surrender unto demigods and follow a particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature.
It has just been stated that even those who worship me with material desires become liberated by the power of devotion to me. See, even the Sakama Bhaktas attain moksha. Normally, we would expect Sakama people to continue in material existence because material desires are what lead to the continuation of samsara chakra. But if one is a Sakama Bhakta, if one is engaged in maximal bhakti, even with material desires, then he gets liberation. That is because he is chosen to surrender to the Supreme Lord. So, in the full sense, he is engaged in devotional service continuously. But those who worship devatas, because of desire for immediate happiness, continue to take birth. This is explained in 4 verses. With various desires, such as desire for relief from suffering, they become devoid of intelligence, thinking that the sun god and others can quickly destroy sickness or other problems, but that Vishnu cannot. Kritagyana means that they have lost all intelligence. Thus they worship the devatas. They follow particular rules controlled by their individual impressions. This means that their impressions are such that it makes them opposed to surrendering to me. The Artha, Jigyasu, Arthati and Jnani, becoming free of their contamination, perform bhakti to me. Till the time that their contamination in the form of desire has not dissipated, they remain by nature Bahirmukha, averse. Averse means, in this context, averse to Krishna himself. Those who take shelter of my Swarup, my personality, though being kami, filled with material desires, do not give shelter to a Bahirmukha condition. They are not averse. In a short time, I will remove their desire, their material desire. But those who are opposed to me and losing their knowledge by desire, worship devatas, givers of results of their desires, in order to attain quick results. They do not like me, a form of Vishuddha Sattva, because motivated by their individual modes of tamas and rajas, they worship various devatas following their respective low rules. Those who are freed from all material contamination surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotion service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. So sometimes the word non-devotee refers to somebody who has an earthliness. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. As stated in the Bhagavatam, akama sarvakama va mokshakama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajetu purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided. Because in Vedic literature, there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. For example, a diseased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. See, it's not that they know that the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord, but they think that for certain purposes you should worship Lord Shiva, you should worship Shani, this thing, that thing, and all that. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Next verse.
Yo yo yam yam danubhakta shraddha arshitum istati tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidyadhame aham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity.
I alone, being the super soul in all beings, having great powers and desiring the benefit of all creatures, produce their faith in various devatas. I inspire them to worship those devatas and bestow the results of the worship of each devata. The devatas do not have the power to do this. This is expressed in two verses, text 21 and 22. A mother has a child who doesn't want to reciprocate with the mother. So the mother employs a maidservant and tells the maidservant that my son needs to be taken care of. He doesn't like to come near me. He thinks I'm simply bugging him all the time. So you take care of him. Whatever he requires, you just send me a message. I will release the money. I will, in fact, if I can even get the right product also, but you should present it as if you are giving it to him. Because then he'll start listening to you. He has to listen to somebody. So let him listen to you at least. So that is the same logic that Krishna has here. Everything he is doing, the prayers that the demigod worshipper is offering, Krishna is listening to that prayer. Krishna is the one who is using the demigods to fulfill the prayer also. Everything he is doing, it's only done through the demigods. That's all. A person desiring freedom from distress or other things desires to worship with faith my body in the form of devatas like the sun god. In other words, if Krishna is the super soul of Surya, Chandra, Varuna, and so on, conversely, Surya, Chandra, Varuna are the Supreme Lord's extended bodies. In other words, he uses them as the super soul of these demigods. He is the one using their bodies to fulfill the prayers of these demigod worshippers. So when somebody goes and prays to Ganapati, Lord Vishnu, the super soul of Ganapati, is actually listening to that prayer. When you go and pour water on Shivalinga and pray to Lord Shiva, then Nrsimhadev, who is the super soul of Lord Shiva, he is listening to that prayer. So he is the one who is organizing the attainment of particular results also. Because you have to surrender to the demigods. You cannot simply just worship. There also surrender comes. Prapadyante, you will find in the previous verse. Previous verse also you will find. Text 20. Prapadyante. To surrender. Surrender means 6 items again. So you surrender to those demigods, then the Supreme Lord, as the inner ruler of those demigods, he uses their bodies in order to fulfill their desires, fulfill the desires of their worshippers. I alone, and not that particular Devata, produce in such a person firm faith in that particular Devata, rather than faith in myself. The Shrutis also state that the various Devatas are also forms of the Lord's body. Ya aditya tishtam, ya aditya tishtat adityadantaro yam adityo naveda yasya aditya shariram. He is the Lord who is different from the sun god, who is situated inside the sun god, whom the sun god does not know, and whose body the sun god is. Like this, there are 21 things. The one who is inside the mind, whom mind doesn't know, who is different from the mind. The one who is inside the moon, whom the moon does not know, who, like that goes on. And every place it is described. The sun is a body of that Lord. Moon is a body, because if he is the Atma, then he has the body. Body and soul are opposites. If I am the Atma of this paper, let's say, then the paper is my body. It goes. That is why here also the word body is used. Tanu means body. Yo yam yam tanum bhaktam. Tanum, Prabhupada translated as form of a demigod, means actually a body. Okay, can someone read out Prabhupada's purport?
God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, a super soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask, why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy? The answer is that if the Supreme Lord, a super soul, does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all the engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a deceased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord, or the super soul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as super soul, is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They are not independent.
As the Antaryami, I give the person firm faith in those devatas whose forms he desires to worship with faith. So Krishna is the Antaryami, both of the demigod and the demigod worshipper. He makes you write the email from one computer and he responds from the other computer. It's just to train them to accept authority. Tamasic living entities don't like to accept authority. So to bring them to Rajoguna. Okay, text 22.
स्वतया श्रद्धया युक्तः तस्य आराधनम् इहति लभते च तथा कामं मयैव विहितान्वितम्. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desire, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
With that faith, he performs worship of the Devata. He attains results mentioned previously. That means the destruction of his suffering, etc. But they are actually produced by me. Those results are given only by me. Because he's worshipping a Devata who is actually my body. Even though such a worshipper does not have proper knowledge that the Devata has come from me and that I give, even though that person does not have proper knowledge that the Devata comes from me, I give that worshipper the results, since I consider that such faith in the Devata is indirectly faith in me. Endowed with the faith given by me, that person worships the Devata and attains from the Devata his desired objects, which are given only by me. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. Actually, the demigods are Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. It is very important that we learn to not worship them and not disrespect them. Usually we go to various extremes. We should simply learn not dishonor them on one hand, at the same time not worship them also. If at all you feel like praying to any demigod, ask only one thing. Please give me Anya Klashita Shunya Jnanaka Madhyanavita Manakulina Krishna Shidra. But they'll be very happy when they see a Hare Krishna come into their temple. Only sane person in the entire campus asking the right thing. They'll be very happy. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. So when a pure devotee, when he needs something, he prays to the Supreme Lord, but not with the desire to attain any material benefit. He may be under some force of circumstance, therefore he prays to the Supreme Lord. That's all. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desires. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. See, if you worship the Supreme Lord, like the Sakama, we already saw the Sakama Bhaktas, those who are engaged in maximal devotional service with materialistic motives, what do they gain? First of all, okay, their material desires are fulfilled. We know that. But after that, the Lord impels them to surrender unto Him, makes them, gives them a distaste for what they have asked for. So the serious materialists, they don't like that. For instance, if you call somebody and say that I'm calling you for a feast, but by the time you finish eating, you'll have no more desire for eating a feast like this for the rest of your life. Then a serious eater will not accept it. Because he wants to eat and he wants to go through it. Yes, there is some happiness, there is some unhappiness. You go through it, you enjoy life, you enjoy experience. Go through it. So these demigod worshippers, they will not accept it. They'll say, no, what is this? From Sakama, you're making me Nishkama. Yeah, everybody has to become a Chaitanya, a Buddha, what? No, I want to enjoy life. Life after life, we enjoy different varieties. That's how they think. This is how the pious karmis, this is how they think. There used to be men and women who would want to do pious activities together in such a manner that at least for 7 lifetimes they are repeatedly husband and wife. There are some procedures for that also. This is the 7x romance. It's not once, again. But that facility is also there. So these people, they don't worship the Supreme Lord. They don't worship Krishna. They don't worship the Vishnu Tattva. Because they know that if you worship the Vishnu Tattva, Krishna will fulfill the desire and then he will remove that desire also. So the hardcore materialists amongst the pious group, they will not accept it. Devotion service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform because worship of a demigod is material and devotion service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotion service of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is not a prayer fulfilling robot. That whatever desire you have, Krishna has to fulfill. He also thinks whether it is acceptable. He actually enters into your life. He's not just an official. He actually enters into your life, starts thinking, is it actually good for you? When to fulfill your material desire, when not to fulfill your material desire. Everything he starts thinking. Text 23. Everywhere, suppose you say that I'm going to worship Lord Shiva. Then at least 12 hours a day you have to engage in that.
No. Krishna interest in life and changing the
No, that's everywhere. See, when you talk about surrender, that is why we said surrender. When you surrender to a demigod, suppose you surrender to some god, that's what you do. You do. It's not that I just do it for 20 minutes every day. Not like that. That's what you do. That indicates you're serious. Otherwise, how are you surrendering? The same way, when you surrender unto Krishna's lotus feet, that also means Pradhani Bhutam. You have to give Mukhya Kala, most of your time. The primary amount, most of your time you have to give. Otherwise, how is it serious? What is it? If a woman says that I want to marry a man, she cannot say that I'll be your wife for half an hour a day. This thing all won't work. It's serious. You go. That's it.
Like it said that the demigods, like the devotees of the Lord, they can be present in the deity form. They can be in deity form.
In their own deity forms.
But the deity, I heard somewhere that the demigod cannot appear in the deity form, right?
In the deity form, their own deity forms. You mean
Like
Like-
Ganesh
like-
deity is there, so
Ah.
it's not that this deity is same as that Lord Ganesha.
Ganesha is why if the form of Ganesha is according to the scriptures which define Ganesha and has been installed according to the procedures set out in the scriptures, then Ganesha is present in that. What is that?
Other demigods.
Standard procedures. And those deities will reciprocate. At the very least, you have to consider that deity to be like an icon. You double click the icon program. Okay. It's like that. Okay, text 23.
Falampesam, Tadavate Alpamenasnam, Devan Deva Jayanti, Madhavaktayanti Mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotee ultimately reach my supreme planet.
Well, if the devatas are your bodies, then worshipping them should yield the same result as worshipping you directly. Anticipating this, Lord Krishna speaks this verse. Those who have scant intelligence, alpamedhasam, and who worship the devatas, considering only the particular devata, not understanding that I am the super soul of that devata, obtain only scant temporary results, meager temporary results. Those who worship the devata with the understanding that I am the super soul of that devata, they don't have scant intelligence. They obtain infinite eternal results. This is because the worshippers of the devatas go to the devatas who have limited enjoyment and limited lifespan. But my devotees attain me and attain infinite, indestructible results from worshipping me. I am endowed with eternal, infinite forms, qualities, and powers. There is a great difference in the results of worship here. The results obtained by these foolish worshippers of devatas are temporary, since those who worship devatas attain the temporary devatas and finally are destroyed. Those who worship me, even with desires, attain me, the form of eternal results. So, see, this Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's point is this. Let us say somebody worships Lord Shiva. Like in the Madhva line, for instance. There's a place called Udupi, which is the headquarters of the Madhva line, Madhva Sampradaya. And there's a Krishna temple there. Next to that Krishna temple is a Shiva temple, Chandramaulishwara. Okay. So Madhvacharya established a standard procedure. After you worship Lord Krishna, you are supposed to go and you are supposed to worship Lord Krishna, the Paramatma of Lord Shiva. So you go, after you do all the rituals with Lord Krishna, worship rituals, then you'll see that sannyasi actually with a bell goes and he goes to that Shiva Linga and he offers bilva leaves and everything like a materialistic Shaiva devotee of Shiva externally. I mean, he will worship Lord Shiva like that, but he's chanting all Vaishnava mantras and he's praying to Lord Nrsimha, who is the super soul of Lord Shiva. So what exactly he's doing? He is actually honoring Nrsimha and Nrsimha's devotee Lord Shiva. So now he will get the result of worshipping Lord Vishnu only. He will not get the result of worshipping Lord Shiva. That is why Baladev Vidyabhushan says, if one understands, then the result is different. But if you don't understand, then you get a different result. So it's a question of whether you see it deeply or superficially. Understanding becomes very important here. Understanding desires, what faith you have, basically attitude is very serious. But it is, since it's all complicated, Ramanujacharya and Prabhupada, they simply say, don't do all this. That's no demigod worship. No demigod worship. Because if we may start off with this, and then the daughter will say, no. So it's a worship of Shiva. No? That's all. That's all. So it's worship of Shiva. That's all. Shiva, everything can be done. I mean, all these things can be done, but you do it with a higher understanding. But since it's all complicated, Prabhupada simply said, no, it's all. We don't do it. As long as we don't offend the demigods, we can also choose to, it's actually safer to simply leave it.
Not going to see.
Yeah, we offer respects. Even when you're walking and some person who's not your boss of your boss comes in front of you, you say Hare Krishna, just for safety. So like that, when you're dealing with demigod, just for safety, it will be useful to say Hare Krishna. Offer a little. They're also devotees of it. A number of them are very great devotees of God also. That's another thing. Unless one is a serious devotee, one is not even offered certain posts. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we'll see. So there are some demigods who actually have a friendly relationship with the Lord also. We'll see. Adhikrita Dasas. They come in Dasya under an analysis of Prema Bhakti, Dasya Prema Bhakti. We'll see. Be careful about that. But generally, when materialistic people think about any worshipable deity, including Krishna or Krishna's Vishnu Tattva forms, what to speak of demigods, the first thing that comes to my mind, in South India, they very openly say, so what can this deity give me? What exactly he can do? What powers he has? Is all they ask. Certainly they ask. What he can do? Does he give money? Does he solve horoscope problems? What is his capacity? Because it's an official role. Official role. That's like a doctor. You go to a doctor. What is he? Eye doctor? Is he a heart specialist? Is he a child specialist? Is he a gynecologist? Like that. These are all doctors basically. The whole system is a hospital. So they want to know what is the specialty. I have a particular problem, so I need to go to a particular doctor. Okay, someone should read out this purport.
Some commentators on the Bhagavad Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord. But here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of the demigod go to the different planetary system where various demigods are created. Just as the worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or the worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular demigod planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied here, for it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the Supreme Planet of the Personality of Godhead. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply the food. This isn't very
Sanguine. It means reasonable.
Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. And in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are the demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Priyas are his arms, the Vaishyas are his legs, the Shudras are his legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The result achieved by the demigods, benefactors, benedictions, are perishable because within this material world, the planets the demigods, and their worshippers, all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods stated are perishable. And therefore, such worshippers worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness is in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge. His achievements and those of the common worshippers of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his devotee, pure devotee, is unlimited.
So there are different statuses of performance. At the lowest are those who think that I will just earn money by my own endeavor. I'll just work hard and I'll just become rich. Better than that is the person just goes and falls at the feet of Ganapati and does whatever is needed, because at least you have entered within the system. And the worship of demigods will force you to worship Vishnu also. You cannot worship the demigod without worshipping Vishnu. It has been reported that the previous Acharya of the Shankara line, there was one Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, elderly person, passed away, not manifest, not there. He was asked this question: what is Hinduism? And then he is reported to have answered, Hinduism is worship of Vishnu. Then he was asked, but then who is a Shaiva? Then he said, one who worships Shiva and Vishnu is a Shaiva. Who is a Shakta? One who worships Shakti and Vishnu is a Shakta. Who is a Ganapatya? One who worships Ganapati and Vishnu. That's a Ganapatya. So then who is a Vaishnava? One who worships Vishnu and Vishnu. He is a Vaishnava. Everywhere you have to worship Vishnu. You don't worship Vishnu, you simply don't get it. It's like paying income tax. You may do some charity in your village and this and that, but you have to pay income tax. So worshipping Vishnu is compulsory duty. Everybody has to do these things. You don't do it, it's like not paying income tax. If you don't pay income tax and you give in charity, still they will arrest you. Okay. So you may be worshipping some demigod and all that's fine, but you also have to worship Vishnu. Okay. So demigod worship forces you. If you go through the proper procedure, then you're made disciplined. So that system is overall far better. Modern system where you have to become practical, you become very educated, and you earn money, and you want to climb. What? This is very stupid. Instead of that, people would rather be worshipping demigods. Better than that is to worship Krishna for the same materialistic purpose. And better than that is to worship the Supreme Lord for liberation. And better than that is to worship Krishna with no desire for material enjoyment or liberation. So there are different levels, and corresponding to one's capacity, one can worship, one can engage in this. There's no point in saying that demigod worship is stupid, foolish, nonsense, and quote Bhagavad Gita verses, and at the same time try to participate in the stock market and try to get more money. Try to do what is this? Want to get means you go through the system. Best would be you directly engage in devotional service according to the methods given by Hari Guru Vaishnava. There are ways by which our material desires can be curtailed within the mission of Lord Krishna itself. If that is also too much, then you directly ask Krishna, dear Lord, I'm very sorry I have this desire. I'm sorry, but I have it. I want it. I'm sorry. You can go on saying, I'm sorry, every second sentence. And Krishna will consider. You chant and you do surrender, means you have to do everything, you avoid. Now, I know that there was one lady, she wanted a particular devotee as a husband. That was a brahmachari. And she was just serving in a department next door. And she did various austerities, Krishna Panchaka, Kartik Vrata, and she chanted extra rounds. And within a few months, the brahmacharis mind changed. He put on white, he married her. So all these things happen. Yeah, except austerity. But they both, moved on in Krishna consciousness. They're stable family and they're also spiritually increasingly serious and peaceful. So ultimately, if you take shelter of Krishna, even for material reasons, you progress in Krishna consciousness. You actually understand the whole thing. Initially, it's all just philosophy. Then afterwards, you begin to think about all this. Oh, what am I doing? If I simply die like this, then next life I'll simply resume. I need to come to the point where I have no material desires. I have no desire other than to please Krishna. I should serve Hari Guru Vaishnavas. I should chant more. All these spiritual thoughts come to the mind. And gradually it does come. So if we go outside of the system, then there's no guarantee. Something we are doing. All right. We'll resume tomorrow. The questions are relevant for everyone.
One question is relevant.
Okay, the relevant question asked me.
So like, do demigods are aware that they are part of Krishna?
Are the demigods aware that they are parts and parcels of Krishna? Of course. Otherwise, you don't get that job actually.
So like,
They've passed in that aptitude test. That's why they're in their job.
like in the Govardhan he forgot in the Lord Shiva forgot the day start of he just forgot that he is Krishna. Somebody they don't.
Yeah, Krishna in fact makes them forget. If you're in the first track now, Krishna doesn't allow you to be a continuous hero. That is anyway. There are many things. It does not allow you to be a continuous hero. Because when Krishna incarnates, they also incarnate or they help in different ways, no? So you get the hero of being a Vaishnava. Cannot be Vishnu. Vishnu is not a post. Vishnu will always be the hero. But you get the sub-hero post, no? So that also Krishna doesn't allow it to happen too much. Because there are so many people in the queue, no? Everybody wants. In that way, sometimes Krishna will do different things. Baladev Vidyabhushan has explained why things like that happen. If I remember correctly, in Sukshma Tika for Gauranga Bhashya. I remember correctly, that's what he says. It is to increase Indra's humility. He makes him do something really stupid. Indra is a great devotee, but makes him do something very wrong. Just to make him humble, just to increase his humility, make him progress. So normally they all remember, but if you are in that track now, because you're moving up, you're learning, you're moving slowly. So Krishna participates in the shiksha process. So he does these kind of things. There are lots of details from Madhvacharya. You gather lots of details. What is actually happening between the so many lifetimes? We say. I'm simply saying it takes many lifetimes, but I haven't started telling you what all happens within that. Many things happen. The internal spiritual development that we see it in the first 6 chapters, but externally, what happens in their life? In fact, Madhvacharya has given lots of details. Lots of details. So they are not continuously allowed to just, they'll always be made to do something wrong. And everybody will criticize them, condemn them, stupid fellow, what is the nonsense? Then they'll become very humble. They'll go back to Lord Vishnu. Again, they'll fall and speak. I'm sorry, Supreme Lord, I just got the virus of pride. No, please detoxicate me. Do a detox on me. I will serve. They're going through in slow motion, no? So Krishna takes care of them in slow motion. That's all.
Like, so don't they want to go back to order?
Everyone wants to go back to Godhead if they are in track 1 or track 2 or track 2.
They are track one.
Yeah, they are in track 1, so they want to go back to Godhead.
They are continuing their service there because they can't go back from there.
There is post, no. These are all posts, no. Padavis, they are posts. You are not allowed to be attached to it and all. Sometimes that's first of all, there's a queue system. Yeah, right now, if you are Indra, like the next Indra is Bali Maharaj. Our current Bali Maharaj will become the next Indra. It changes, no? Every Manvantara it changes, no? So then it's all worked out. Already it's worked out. And you can see the list in 8th canto for this Kalpa. Not all the changes, but at least up to the current no, at least the Indra post and who will be their technical council.
Now from the
Now it is Purandar. Now it's Saptarishis. That's a whole, the government basically is who will be in the ruling party. So it's all worked out. So after Indra does his job, then that particular Jivatma goes into the next post. Don't ask me who that is because I haven't sat down to read this. He commits offenses, and if he wants, yeah, from the scriptures we also learn that everything happens. Everything is possible.
some universities that first is given a post of Brahma.
There are so many universes.
Yeah, so many was post of giving Brahma. So then it comes from them in different body. Because from Brahma they are not going back. It's coming down.
No, that is always there. That is the Jivatma's own attitude, his own relationship with Krishna. Here we are only talking about the forces of external nature. And this is something very different, living entity's own free will and all that. That is a different thing. So things are worked out. Things are worked out.
Lord Krishna made it that they had some higher goals, even higher goals than maintaining their job there. As in the
Yeah, to increase one's humility, he makes them proud, makes them forget, and all these things happen. All of that happens. You know, if you want to experience material happiness while you make spiritual progress, Krishna will do all these things. He may do it a little bit fast motion. If you want, it all depends, you know, how fast or slow you want to progress. Okay.